Let me put you on game. Don't listen to people who lose or you'll do the same. Stop talking to people who don't give a f*** what you saying. Stop spending your money on weed. Go hop on a plane. Stop pointing the finger.
We have another returning guest with us, Mr. Mark Willmore. Kind of here, excited to get into how 2023 went with you this last year. I know last time we talked, you were just about to go out for that summer. Yeah. So I want to talk about how that went, maybe lessons that you've learned running your team this year, and then talk a little bit about your real estate that you're doing and investing that you're doing. So how was 2023 for you? It was a rough year for a lot of people and a lot of businesses. How'd you guys end up doing?
It wasn't bad. It was a fun summer. Yeah.
Okay.
Trying to think where we were. We were in Miami. I lived in Miami this summer.
Really?
North Boca.
Okay.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Everyone has their stipulations. Like when you hear Miami, you think party, culture, crazy. But we were like an hour and a half north of Miami. So it was like quiet, like mostly retired people. So
suburbs.
Yeah, super chill, pickleball, all the golf you want.
Really?
So it's like, oh, this place is nice.
Had you ever been to Florida?
Just to like Disney World and stuff, but never actually like in the suburbs
of Florida.
So really liked it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, was it when you pick your destinations, do you guys get to pick it, or does corporate tell you like, hey, we need a team here?
It's kind of like a draft.
Okay.
So it's like the NBA draft. So whoever has the most recruits usually gets their first pick.
Ooh.
And so we've gotten our first pick a couple of times.
Wow.
Florida actually was not our first pick.
What was your first pick?
I think I wanted like Grand Rapids or Lansing, Michigan.
Really?
Yeah, kind of random, but just more Midwest, North area. Just try something else. But
I would think that all the reps would go for the warm.
Yeah, they
like the nice like destination places.
It's easy to sell people to go work in Florida.
Yeah.
During the summer.
Like, Midwest would be kind of tough.
Yeah.
Hey, you're going to go to Lansing, Michigan.
Yeah. And they're like, why would I ever go there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or people that live there are trying to get out.
Yeah. Did you only go to one location this year, or did you have teams in two?
So we had two teams in Miami, a big team in Dallas, and a big team in Portland.
Wow.
So
how many guys did you have this summer go out?
I think we had 165 guys knock a door or get a sale.
Is that your biggest?
I think so, yeah. Last year, I think we had like 116.
Okay.
So grew a little bit.
Yeah.
But our performance, we did 6 million the year before, and this year we did 9 million.
Wow.
So, or 2023, we did 9 million.
So you almost broke the double digits.
Almost. As close.
That's
hopefully
awesome.
This year, yeah.
What do you think attributed to that? Roughly the same number of sales guys, kind of, right?
Yeah.
What do you think increased the sales?
I think training. We had better trained reps. Our experienced reps crushed it this year.
Really?
So our returning reps came out and threw down. We changed our pay scales. We increased our contract value. So it was like, it's never been easier to make money selling pest control. Like,
really?
Last year, it was cool to watch a lot of my second and third year guys blow past 6 figures.
Really?
But they worked hard for it, obviously, but historically, it was pretty tough to get over 6 figures without leading a team.
Yeah.
Where a lot of our guys broke 6 figures by themselves.
Really?
Or with a couple guys, yeah.
Wow. That's super cool. What did you guys do better with your training? Do you feel like just better systems with it, or?
Yeah, systems, weekly trainings, follow-ups, accountability is huge with sales training, like just holding people accountable to a schedule.
Yeah.
And so that helped a lot. And then just, I think our management is just getting better. Like, I love my group.
Yeah.
And they're awesome. They did a lot of the work this summer.
How many so when you break it out, like how many managers do you have under you?
I have 32.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you manage that? Like, they're all kind of direct report up to you to kind of for support and stuff?
Yeah, most of them. Yeah.
Okay.
So I kind of have 3 divisions.
Okay.
McKenna Hall's in her group. She's got a handful of team leaders.
She's a rock star.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah.
Crushes it. And then Aiden Parent is an up-and-coming divisional.
Okay.
And he's got 5 or 6 team leaders, new ones that he's managing.
Okay.
And then directly underneath me, I have like 10 or 12.
Okay.
So
you kind of have it broken out a little bit. It's like, man, 32 people direct reporting up to you. Like, that's tough.
Yeah. So I try and meet with all 32 at least once a week. They at least get a text from me.
Yeah.
And just follow up with them and help them in recruiting and training. So
yeah, that's so with your sales guys. Like, how do you hold them accountable? Like, do you guys say, here's the training, it's mandatory, you have to be here?
Yeah.
Or is it like, hey, we're doing these trainings, come if you can? What's your guys' like model with it?
So just for managers, our biggest thing is I do a team leader meeting every Monday.
Okay.
I show stats, I show weekly reports, like people's efforts, give shout outs. I think people, they like to be shout out. And if you don't get shouted out, like you feel like that,
Guilty.
like disappointment or guilty of like, oh man, I should have worked harder.
Yep.
So that's self-motivating for them and like gets them excited. But we also just do little trainings on like just tips and tricks on how to get better, and just usually focus on one or two things. Our big thing this year that we focused on is building your own team, but having your revenue per rep be over 100,000. So your average guy is going to do more than 100,000 in sales.
Wow.
So I'm excited to see if that focus point this off season will help us have a better RPR, revenue per rep, this summer.
And ultimately, like if you can get a better revenue per rep, it's going to help you recruit, because you're going to be able to show like, hey, here's what we have done for our first year recruits.
Yeah.
So it's probably a little bit harder to process, like spending the time doing that.
Yeah.
Probably going to upfront give away time that you could spend on recruiting.
Yeah.
But it's like, if that pays off over a 3 to 4 year
definitely.
period, it's going to really pay off.
Yeah.
You know? So it's cool that you're doing that. Do your managers have to be there on Monday, or is it optional?
I say it's mandatory.
Okay.
And we take attendance.
Good.
And so we like to make it as professional as possible. I start on time. We're not late. And we chat for a little bit at the beginning, kind of catch up.
Yeah.
But then we dive into it. I try and keep it at 30 minutes to be respectful of their time. The cool thing about, and I think this is with most sales managers, they like to be their own boss, and they like to be proactive, like good ones. They're very proactive. They do their own thing. They don't like to be told what to do. And like, that's why we're in sales, is we want to be our own boss.
Yeah.
And so I really try and lean into them being their own boss and just there to help guide, kind of more of a mentorship role. Like, I'm not the perfect leader. I'm not the perfect manager, but I'm here to help and support you. And I think that's where a lot of leaders or managers go wrong. It's like, my way is the highway. And like, you have to do exactly what I say, rather than like, hey, like I'm learning so much from all my new leaders.
Yeah.
They come with ideas and I'm like, wow, that's really good. Like, that's inspiring. Like, they're doing bigger and better things than I ever thought I could.
Wow.
And so it's cool.
I want to dive into kind of like, I think you've got a lot of great perspectives on leadership and managing. I've dealt with real estate agents are the same kind of thing. They want to be their own boss, flexibility.
Yeah.
I've juggled between making things mandatory and not making things mandatory.
Yeah.
And it's like, right now, all we have is our team meeting is mandatory.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's like we have a team training every Wednesday that they can come to. Strongly encouraged.
Yeah.
But my thought is, okay, like now if you come to me and you're struggling, it's like, well, have you been going to the team trainings? No. Have you been doing that stuff? No. Okay, well then like start doing that and let's see where you get to. But there's the other route of just saying like, hey, team trainings are mandatory. Would you be better off? Because maybe the agents would produce better without going through that struggle. What's your philosophy? What do you think about that stuff?
You actually said it when we were playing poker at your house, I think. And you're like, there's a fine line between being self-employed and unemployed. And I actually did a training on that.
Really?
Yeah, the following week. And it's so true. Like, self-employment is a balancing act. Like, sometimes I'm guilty of working too much and prioritizing work over family life and marriage. And then other times I prioritize family and marriage too much, and then I stop working. And so it's just like a balancing thing. And I think it really just comes down to, what do you want? But I'm also not a long-term thinker. Like, which sounds funny. Like, if it's whatever I'm going to do today, how is this going to help me in 6 months? Like, what do I need to do today so that in 6 months my life's better? And that's kind of how my brain works. And so I really just focus on those type of things.
Yeah.
But managing managers is different than being a manager too, because there's so many variables and people have their own life and things come up, accidents happen, and like there's just problems, right? And so you got to be a therapist, you got to be a mentor, you got to be a friend. And like, if you're just a boss, then it's really hard to connect with your people. So really having high expectations for your reps, having mandatory meetings, having, set expectations for them. Like, if you don't have any core values or expectations or things in place, like, what are you leading your people to?
Yeah.
But if you also don't have any connection with them, if you don't have a relationship with them, like, then that creates rebellion, that creates entitlement. And so if you can have that high connection with your managers and high expectations, then you kind of create that mentorship role.
Yeah.
And you're helping each other rather than it's just like me, you. It's like, hey, we're into this together.
Yeah. How do you manage relationships with 32 people?
I love it. I think it's my superpower.
Really?
Like I learned a lot from Garrett. I love texting. Like I consider myself one of the world's best texters.
You're pretty good. Yeah.
Garrett's also really good too.
Yeah.
And so I love communicating. I think it's just like my love language. Like I like to be wanted. I think people like that feeling. Yeah. Sometimes it can be stressful and overbearing. It's like, oh man, everyone needs my attention. But for me, I kind of lean into it of like, hey, I'm here. Like, let's do it. Yeah. And I'm available 24/7 from, 3 a.m. to 3 a.m.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that you said that you lean into it. Like, cause me and my wife are kind of opposite. I'm similar to you. I like that I like feeling that people like need me.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's okay if I'm the source of that they got to call or whatever. Bree hates it.
Yeah.
So she's like, how do we optimize this? Yeah. How do I make a training video?
How do you systemize it?
Yeah. Cause she's very like problem fix. And I'm like, so anything that if she gets asked a question, she'll go make a Loom video, and it'll be in our agent portal.
Which is awesome.
And they can go watch a video next time they have that question. For me though, I'm like the complete opposite. I'm like, come talk to me whatever you need to. Like I'm here, and I lean into those relationships. I think it's important.
Yeah. I think having both is important.
Yeah. You gotta have like a line where, you want to encourage them to not just come to you for everything. Yeah. Like here are the resources, learn the resources. Yep. But also know that we have a good enough relationship that you can come to me when you need to. Yeah. And I think it helps with communication. Like, don't be scared to come talk to me about situations. Yeah. Because I feel like when somebody feels like they can count, I've had sales guys call me and be like, thinking about buying a new car. Yeah. Should I do it or not? Like, what is your advice? Hey, I'm looking at this property. What is your advice? Yeah. I love that because it's like, cool. You don't just see me as, hey, I'm doing this transaction. How can I help? But like trying to make a financial decision here. Yeah. What are your thoughts? No, and I always, it's great. And then you see the agents that like get the advice and they don't follow it. Yeah. And then they leave and you're just like, okay. Yeah. So they didn't really want the advice. They just wanted to act like they needed it. But I feel like leadership is probably managing and leading is the hardest thing about running a business.
I think communication is like the underlining. Like
I'd agree.
Yeah, like that's the hardest part. Like businesses either live or die based off communication. Yeah. And transparency is huge too. Yeah. So I think if you are a good communicator, you can be a good leader and a good manager. If you don't like communicating, it's really hard. Yeah. Like management doesn't happen without communication.
Yeah. And you can't build a business without people.
Correct.
So it's like you at some point are going to have to learn to communicate and manage people if you actually want to grow. Yeah. Where do you get your leadership advice or wisdom from?
Experience. Yeah. Yeah. I've made a lot of mistakes. I think we all have, right? You learn from every situation. Yeah. Every person's different. Everybody reacts differently to different incentives, different initiatives, like different policies. Some people lean into policy change. Some people absolutely hate change. And so like, you just have to learn to navigate each conversation. And it only comes through experience, I think. Like you can read all the books, you can listen to all the podcasts, you can do all of these things. But if you actually don't experience it yourself, you never learn. Yeah. And so that was kind of my thing recently of like, I don't need all the answers. And me and my wife were actually talking about this. Like her brain, she's a nurse. So her medical brain is like problem. Yep. How do I fix this first problem? My brain is opportunity, where I'm like, go. As problems occur, I'll figure it out. Yep. Where it's like let's figure out the problems and then move forward. Yeah. And so I think that helps with leadership and management because if you're only focused on what could go wrong, it's really hard to lead people with vision and like opportunity. Yep. So if you have that mindset of like, I see this opportunity, let's run with it. Yep. And then whatever comes, like, we'll figure it out. Yeah. My famous thing that I always tell my guys is like, if something's going bad or like apps aren't working or, truck got in an accident, like whatever happens, like it'll buff, like everything will work out as long as you continue to move. Yeah. Keep moving. Keep doing
it. I love that because there's always going to be things that happen. Yeah. No system, no technology is perfect. Nothing is, there's always going to be bumps in the road. Yeah. But I love that if you just keep moving, it's going to buff out. So just like keep going. Don't let the CRM going down or the app going down like stop you from going through the rest of your day. Just keep moving, pivot. Yeah. People had to do something when the CRM wasn't a thing. Yeah. So like
before the internet, how did business
go?
Yeah.
Write it down for right now.
Yeah.
You know? But some people just get so crippled when like how they want it isn't done exactly how they they think it should be. That's great advice. I'm gonna share that with my team. My wife, she's kind of the opposite too, because I'm similar where if I see an opportunity and I'm like, let's do this, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but let's just like do it and let's get it out there.
Yeah.
She's very much like, I want this to be perfect. And you know, she's launching a new company, and she's been working on it. I'll have to
Is
tell
it
you.
a secret?
We haven't announced anything of it yet. But I'll tell you after the podcast. But she's been working on the website for the last month.
That's awesome.
And getting everything dialed in perfectly. She's got her FAQs already. It's like we haven't even had a question asked because it's launched, but she's doing everything where I'm like the complete opposite. I'm like, FAQs will come when we get questions.
Yeah,
like,
we'll build a website when we need it.
Yeah, it's like first just like get our first sale.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like sales driven, and she's like thinking of, you know, we need these different products.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's just do one product
Yeah.
and sell it out and then add more products.
Yeah.
She's like, well, what if people want other options? I'm like, well, that's great. But like, I'm more of, let's just get it, run with it and see how it performs.
And then make adjustments.
Because I'm also totally okay with like, hey, if this doesn't perform, we're just going to like pivot.
Yeah.
And that's probably like, I pivot a lot and it drives people sometimes nuts.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you don't know until you try it. And then if we try it and it's not what we thought and we don't like it, then we pivot back.
Yeah.
Like,
You learn experiences.
We wasted like 4 months we switched CRMs and then we switched right back within like 60 days.
Wow.
And it was terrible.
Yeah.
But
learned.
We learned. We didn't like it. Cool. We decided that where we were at, we actually do like a lot of the features.
Yeah.
And now we're good. We scratched that itch and we're back.
Yeah.
So it's like, but sometimes you just have to do that, you know. But a lot of people would have been like, hey, we just switched. We're not switching back.
Yeah.
Because that was too much work. We're not going to do it. We're not going to put the sales guys through it. Ours is like, hey, we're willing to do this for you guys because we feel like it is better. Yeah. And so we're going to go through the work and we're going to get a switch. And it's going to be painful. Yeah. But stick with us.
Getting communication though. Just being upfront with people like, hey, this is going to suck for a little bit. It's going to be hard and it's probably going to require some extra work and patience. But like people appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Like if you can set the expectation of like, hey, we're trying, we're working hard. Like it's not going to be perfect, rather than like, this is going to be the best CRM you've ever had. And then once you get it and it's not, then it's like, oh, this sucks. Yeah. But like in the back of your mind, you knew it was also going to kind of suck if you had to change later on. And so like just being upfront with your people. I think you said it earlier, like being transparent and honest. And I think my coach always says agreements over expectations. Yeah. So like communicate the agreement of like, this is probably going to suck and this is what's going to be required, instead of I'm not going to communicate any of these changes and I'm just going to expect them to be okay with it. It's like, don't just expect them to be okay with it. Like get some kind of agreement. Like when we switched back, it was like, here's why we think we're going to switch back. Yeah. What do you guys think? Are you guys in agreement with switching back? Yeah. Everybody's in agreement? Getting feedback is huge.
Cool. Now we're going to switch back. And then you've got the confirmation up front. So I think it's so important that was something that I've learned over the last few years is people wouldn't do things that I wanted them to do, but it was because I didn't communicate how I wanted them to do it. Yeah. It was like, I just expected you to do it this way. You can't just expect people to do certain things. You have to like explain and then get like that expectation in place. Hey, this is the expectation. Do you have expectations for your leaders? Like,
yeah, definitely. I think creating expectations with them is like the best way, getting them involved with the processes of like, hey, this is where I want to go. Where do you want to go? Okay, how do we accomplish it? And then you set those expectations with them. Like, it's like, hey, this is what I expect of you. It's like, well, what do you expect of yourself first? And just starting with the baseline question of like, what are you doing currently to reach your goals? And what do you think you need to do to get better? And then you can set those expectations as a team. And I think that helps build commitment levels a lot higher. Yeah. Because if it's my goal, my dream, my vision, like it's really hard for people to buy into me because it doesn't affect them. Like my life doesn't really affect any of my manager's life. Yeah.
You driving the R8 doesn't really affect them.
I mean, I think it helps them recruit a little bit. Yeah, I hope so. Or else I should sell it. So, but yeah, you know what I mean? Like me driving R8 intangibly doesn't personally affect them. Yeah. But like the fact that I have an R8 also gives them the vision of like, hey, if you work hard for 3 or 4 years, you can have real estate, you can have the cars, you can have what you want. Yeah. But like this is what I did to get there.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing now to get there yourself?
How do you, this is something that I've struggled with. How do you get, because I'm sure you get sales guys that want it year one.
Yeah.
Like they want to be Mark year one,
Yeah.
but they don't know what Mark looked like year one.
Yeah.
How do you share that? Or are you pretty consistent on sharing that of like,
I think sharing old experiences is very powerful, but you don't want to get caught up in the past. Like you still have to work hard to maintain where you're at. Like you've worked really hard to be where you're at. And like, I think Alex Hermosi said it the other day about being supported during like the grind.
Yep.
It's like, I didn't have anyone supporting me.
Posted it last night, actually.
Yeah. He's just like, I freaking did all the things that sucked for a long time that I hated. And I was the same way. Like, I don't think people love recruiting. Like it's hard. It's rejection. It's sales. Sales is hard. And it's just like, you have to do all these hard things. And most of the time, no one's going to be watching, especially on your hard days. I don't ever voice my hard days. Yeah. But having, like, one of my reps texted me yesterday. He's like, hey, Mark, I just want to say thank you for like genuinely trying to help people and help me especially. And I'm like, man, that makes the hard days worth it.
100%.
And so it's tough. Like year one, I think it's expectations. It all comes down to expectations of like, hey, this first year is going to be tough. It's going to be a roller coaster. You're going to have emotions up and down. Like you're going to want to quit and you're going to be on cloud 9 when you have your first couple of good days. And so like buying real estate takes time. Like it took me 2.5 years to buy my first property of like hard work. And like some people can do it year one. Like I'm not saying you can't, but like you're going to have to work twice as hard as everybody else.
Yeah.
And so just setting expectations and then reps, I think it's also a red flag too when people are like, I want quick, easy path. Like I was just talking about it with Ryan. Like some people that are all in early are also all out at the same time. Yeah. So to me, if somebody's like always down to train, always like available, that's kind of a red flag. I'm like, well, why aren't you at the gym? Why aren't you working? Why aren't you making money? Like I'd love to train with you all day, but I'm busy. Like you should be busy doing good things, not just scrolling, hanging out. Like I hate Xbox. I hate that stuff. Yeah. And it like triggers me. Yeah. When I find out people are like spending their time doing that. Yeah. I think moderation in all things for sure. Like if you enjoy those things, but like you don't make it like a consistent habit where you're spending a majority of your day on your phone or on a console.
Yeah. It's an escape. I go back and forth on it. I've got sales guys that do play every once in a while.
But it can be like a team thing. People bond over it.
It can be a team thing. And I think Alex Hermosi, he talked about this too. He's like, I literally work until I can't work and then I veg. Like his thing is like, I like to just watch Netflix and veg. Yeah. So I'm like, if that's your Netflix and vegging, that's fine.
After you've worked really hard.
After you've worked really hard. That's the big thing. It's like, you have to earn that time. So as long as you're earning that time, that's great. But if it's a sales guy that's like, yeah, I'm selling 5 houses this month and I've got, X amount pending this next month and I'm playing Xbox tonight. Cool. Yeah. That's great. Go have fun and relax and enjoy it. But if you're like, I don't have anything under contract and I don't have anything pending and I'm going to go home because I don't have anything to do and I'm just going to play Xbox. Yeah. Okay. That's a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if I don't have income coming in, I'm not leaving this office until I get a
pipeline,
something built. Yeah. Like I get an appointment set. I'm going to meet with somebody. I'm going to get a conversation that's going. And I think people too often opt for that. I don't know what, like not like it's like a sedative to just numb the pain of I'm just going to go play Xbox and forget about
remove yourself from reality.
It's like remove it from reality. And it's like, don't do that. That's when it gets dangerous. Yeah. So I'm not granted, I did turn on my Xbox for the first time in like 2.5 years.
Yeah, it's fun.
We played like Madden during the playoffs last weekend. But you're right. Honestly, though, we played it like the night before, and it was with my sales guys, so it was good. Like it was team bonding. Fun. But I felt like garbage the next day. Yeah. Like, why did I do that? Yeah. Why did I spend 3 hours?
It's crazy how fast time flies.
Oh, it's bad. Yeah. So I'm totally with you though. Like it makes me feel crappy after you do those things.
Moderation. I think moderation is like kind of been like my motto recently, like with religion, with work, with life, like never be all in on one thing for too long. Yeah. And just like trying to have a healthy balance of like work really, really hard in all aspects of your life. And like, it actually makes life way more enjoyable when working hard.
Yeah.
And I think of like God created the earth in 7 days, and the seventh day he rested. Like, I think a lot of us want to retire early. Like, that's the dream, right?
Day 3.
Yeah. We want to retire year 1,
Yeah.
or like in 10 years, or 30 or 35, or we want to be a multimillionaire by 40. And it's like, well, yeah, but like, then what? It's like, God put us on earth to work for 6 days and like to progress.
Yeah.
Whether that's towards monetary things or like physical, emotional, spiritual, like we're here to work and become better and rest on, 1 day a week, maybe 2 days.
Yeah.
Or one of my favorite things is like golf every day that ends with Y, right? Oh, I could golf every day and still be very productive and be very successful.
Yeah.
But just having the time set for work.
Yeah. Because you think about, I love that analogy, but you think about what God, if he would have stopped day 3, he probably still, like a lot of great things would have still been built.
Yeah.
But if he would have just kept pushing till day 6,
Yeah.
to rest day 7, look at now everything that was created.
Yeah.
That's a great, honestly, I love that. What I'm curious to see, you said like even religion in moderation. What do you mean by that?
I think just not being so easily persuaded. Like, I think there's so much good in the world, but there's also so much bad that, like, obviously where you focus on expands.
Yep.
And so if you focus on all the bad things in religion and God, like, yeah, it's pretty easy to like convince yourself that God's not real, like, because that's what you're consuming all the time. Or you can be on the opposite side of, feeling yourself reading about God and scriptures and completely believe in it.
Yeah.
And so just not being so easily persuaded by the media, by trends. Like, I think TikTok and Instagram are so powerful because whatever's being put in front of you is starting to become your thoughts,
100%.
and then it becomes your belief, and then it becomes your actions. And so just being moderate in your consumption of content.
Yeah.
And just really deciding like what you want and not letting other people influence that.
I think I'm in total agreement with that. I think that people get in these, like they call it echo chambers or echo chambers.
Yeah.
Of you're just getting fed the same information.
Yeah.
And it's just confirmation bias.
Yeah.
It's, I believe this and I'm in the cycle of everybody else that I'm watching or hearing believes it, confirming my beliefs. So I'm right.
Yep.
Where it's like, I try to break out of those cycles. Even if I think that what I'm believing is right and I'm consuming what I believe, I try to force myself to go consume something else that's outside of it to see what that perspective is like.
Yeah.
Enforce it.
Yeah. I think understanding both sides is very, very important.
Playing devil's advocate to your own beliefs.
Yeah. Just contradicting yourself every once in a while.
Yeah.
Making like, I think that having that gut feeling, that gut check is very important. Like, hey, am I doing the right things? Is this what I should be doing? And just checking in with yourself of like, am I where I want to be?
Yeah.
Mentally, physically, emotionally.
Yeah. Are you where you want to be?
I think I'm getting there. Like, I feel my gratitude levels have just like naturally increased. Yeah. And like we talked a little bit before we started this, like I was in the Philippines, Thailand, Tokyo, 3 very diverse places. And the thing that's mind numbing is we were in Bangkok, which is a city of 14 million people.
Yeah.
And we fly to Tokyo and there's 40 million people. And then we go to the Philippines and 113 million people live in the Philippines. And I'm like, I am nothing. Like, no matter, like, it can be like very like demotivating.
Yeah.
Of like, man, like there's 8 billion people on this earth and I'm just one of them. Like, but it's also like very humbling of like, I'm really not that important and I'm really like not that special. And so it's really humbling because I think the biggest sin or the biggest thing that gets in our way is our pride. Mm-hmm. And I just felt so guilty over there of like, man, I'm so prideful. Like I think about myself a lot. And these guys that live in these third world countries, like all they think about is their relationships. Mm-hmm. And this is like, I was helping a bunch of families over in the Philippines and stuff, and they didn't really care about the money. And I actually had one member tell me, I was like trying to help him out. And he's just like, money comes and goes, but you're only here for a week. Like, I just want to spend time with you. And I was like, that is so powerful. as far as just like relationships go.
Yeah.
But money is what got me to go to the Philippines. Like I wouldn't have had that experience if I hadn't have worked really hard, been able to afford that trip. And so it's like, you have to understand the importance of money, that it doesn't necessarily bring happiness, but it brings experiences and opportunity that can change your life.
Yeah.
And so that trip was really like eye-opening again for me of like, man, like money's not that important. Relationships are everything, but like you have to work hard for both.
Me and Garrett talked about like the 3 things that are important in life. And it's like, you can't have relationships. You can't just have relationships. You can't just have money. You can't just have health.
Yeah.
You need to find the balance between all 3. But I think you're right. Relationships are extremely important. But the way to grow those relationships and create good experiences is like you need money as a resource.
Or provide value in some way.
Yeah. And so we had a VA from the Philippines on our team for like over a year. He was awesome. And every team meeting, he would share, like we'd share a win, like our weekly wins. Yeah. And his was always like, me and my fiance went to like the grocery store and like got groceries this weekend. Or we like, hey, we went to a movie. Yeah. It was like the highlight. One time it was like they saved up and they bought the vacuum that they had wanted. Yeah. And it was just like always so humbling to hear what like he was excited about. And it was actually really cool because he started in like, after being with us for a year, he's making good money for over there. Yeah. And he started like investing in real estate and doing that.
It's like it's a trend right now. Yeah. In the Philippines. It's cool.
Oh yeah. Which is, I think they're seeing it because it's a trend everywhere. I feel like, especially in the US. Yeah. And I think they're just kind of like looking at that and doing their own thing in the Philippines, which is cool.
And it starts like building wealth for them. Yeah. Getting them excited about it.
I feel like there's such a limited amount of people that did it there. Yeah. That the education, what's cool, I think, with the internet is like education is getting so widespread.
Oh yeah.
And so like people that
access to everything.
Yeah. If you want to learn anything, you can do it for free. Yeah. Like the internet, you just search enough, listen to enough podcasts, search enough things on the web, like on the web, you'll find enough information to do it.
Another thing too, looking at that same perspective is like whether you're in a third world country or in America, like wherever you're at, like there's similar personalities and like there's go-getters, there's hustlers, there's grinders everywhere. There's also people that have the opportunity that don't work, that don't go for it. And there's people that just don't do anything and they're okay with that. Yeah. So there's like the opportunities are always there if you want to go get them. Another thing that will open your eyes, I was really curious about the economics of the Philippines now that I've kind of learned a little bit about real estate and business. And I was like, I wonder how this place works. Yeah. Like, how is this like a country? And like their minimum wage over there is anywhere from 370 pesos to 500 pesos a day, which is anywhere from $8 to $10 for 8 hours of work. Wow. So it's like, that really puts you in perspective of like, man, like work 8 hours for $10. It's like, and we get paid, I think America's like what, $15 an hour now? Yeah. It's like, wow, we really take that for granted. And it's like, with just an opportunity to make hourly wage, like how much good could you do? And then if you build a skill set and grow it and be able to maximize that, like, why aren't we all working harder to build our future?
And I think you're right. There's opportunity in everywhere you go, there's opportunity. But being in the US, we have a larger, I feel like there's more opportunity for us to try to take advantage of.
I think people are just soft.
Yeah.
Like we've got like that famous quote, like good times create weak people. Yeah. I think we're in that like weak people. Oh, 100%. And so this weak people, us, are creating hard times. Yeah. And once those hard times come, then it's going to create good people again. Yeah. So I think it's always important. Like if you're scared, like scared money doesn't make money. Yeah. And so you've got to be confident during these times of like a potential recession, high interest rates. Like the people who win work and they go big.
I'm going to kind of go down a rabbit hole based on, your line of our good people create good times, which create weak people. Yeah. I think we're in that weak people phase. It is so hard, like, men nowadays.
It is our testosterone levels like lower than they've ever been. Have you heard that?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna get mine checked in the next week. Yeah, just go get my blood done, just to see, because I'm curious. Because everybody that I've talked to that's gotten them checked is low. Yeah. But aside from even just that, like finding a respectable man nowadays,
kind of hard.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
Like nobody cares about, like, they'll tell you one thing. They don't honor their word. You can't trust anybody.
It's tough.
I was talking to a buddy that was going through a divorce, and he was like, he'd previously been in the military and stuff like that, and super honorable, respectable guy.
Yeah.
And he was saying, like, he hasn't even finalized the divorce stuff, and like married women that just know that he's getting divorced have been like reaching out to him.
That's crazy.
And he's like, "You're married, like I'm not talking." Like he'd have a conversation, and like if it got weird, he'd be like, "Yeah, cut it off."
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's not a lot of people that would do that nowadays.
Yeah.
Like
they see it
a lot of other men would just opportunity and jump on it. And it's like, where did we lose that sense of responsibility as like men? And when did it become like this culture of who cares what you say? Like, you don't have to be a man of your word.
Yeah.
You don't have to have any morals. It's cool to not have any morals.
Yeah.
It's cool to do this. I don't know where that happened, but I don't like it.
No, I agree. And I think that's why I like what we do in sales, is because we can build a group of guys and girls to be like, you can have that influence of like, hey, let's be good people. Mm-hmm. The world needs good leaders. They need good men and women. And I think those good people will make it through these hard times. And so like, it's lonely at the top, right? You want to bring everybody, but I 100% agree. Like it's like you look into the generation right below us, and it's just like, it's kind of scary. It's like party culture's crazy. Everybody wants to travel and not work. Yeah. Like they just want the easy road. Yeah. And that, we all know where that leads to harder roads ahead. Yeah. And harder roads ahead for everybody. Yeah. Like if that younger generation doesn't step up and like actually work, it's going to be like, yeah, we're going to go through some hard times. Yeah. I think a big thing in life is like how much we compare ourselves. Mm-hmm. Like comparison, you've heard, like comparison is a thief of happiness. Yeah, thief of joy. And I've been thinking about that a lot. And I was like, I usually compare myself upward. Yeah. Like who's beating me? Who's got this? How much money are they making? Or their family looks way happier. Like, and social media kind of like creates that sometimes. Mm-hmm. And so I've always tried to make the practice of anytime I compare upwards, I also compare downwards, where it's like, hey, like I could have it way worse, and people do have it way worse. Yeah. And like, how can I help them get to that next level rather than like, how do I get to that next level? Yeah. Cause I've like that, you've been cold plunging, you've been hitting the gym hard, and it's self-improvement is so important, and building yourself. And so you can then serve other people around you. Yeah. But a lot of times I think we're kind of so fixated on ourselves that it's like, I'm doing this for me. Yeah. It's like, well, yes, you need to be healthy. You need to be doing these hard things, but why? Yeah. It's like, well, I want to be a better version of me. It's like, well, take people with you. Like, make it impactful. Because influence, have you ever heard like influence is a mile wide and an inch deep, but impact is an inch wide and a mile deep. And so it's like, how are you impacting people? It's easy to influence people, but how do you create impact? Yeah. I love that. I think have you heard the rules of thirds? Basically like spend time with, 30 of your time with people above you, 30 of your time with people at the same level, and then third with below. Yeah. Cause like help those people get up to that next level. Yeah. I think that's, kind of like what you're saying. Don't get so fixated on everybody that's above you, but also like learn how to be grateful for where you're at. Yeah. Talk to people where you're at and be grateful, and then help bring people up to where you're at. Yeah. You learn a lot by teaching people. It's the highest form of learning. Yeah. Is to teach. Being taught is awesome, but if you can learn something and teach it to somebody else, way better. 100%. And Alex Ramosi, like this conference that I went to that I was trying to get you to go to. I know. I wish I could have gone. It was good, but he talked about this because his perspective on it was interesting. Not that you should compare yourself to somebody, but he said you have to be comparing yourself to somebody to really try to achieve more. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's not a bad thing. Like we shouldn't always be doing it, but we should, if there's like, I'm going to say Garrett. If Garrett's like crushing it, and if he can do it, and he's living the life that he wants, and he has healthy relationships, and he's working out, bench pressing 500 pounds. Yeah. I'm like, I should like look up to him and say, what is he doing? Yeah, like hypothetically, like what are his standards? What do I need to do? Yeah. What are his standards? Because then I could also do them. Because we're all human. We all put our genes on the same way. Yeah. We
we just don't have that role model that we're looking up to like show us that we could try to like emulate. And so I think it's important to find somebody that's living the life that you want and like see what their standards are, because your environment, you're a product of your environment.
Yeah.
And Alex Ramosi said
you're a byproduct of your zip code.
Yeah. That's what he's like. The biggest differentiating factor with wealth was like the zip code you were born in.
Yeah.
Not because there's just less opportunity, but because if your neighbor, if everybody in your block is making good money and running businesses and doing that, you're like, then why wouldn't I do it?
It's like the minimum.
Yeah. It's like your standard would be that. Yeah. And you know people that are doing it, so you have like a pathway. Versus you're in a zip code where everybody's working, minimum wage jobs, and you got one guy on the corner that's selling drugs and he's killing it. You're like, cool, I can do this or that, but that's all I know.
Yeah.
Minimum wage job or selling drugs.
And crush it.
Yeah. It's like
you just look for the next best opportunity.
Yeah. And so I think it's important to try to get into bigger circles, try to find that mentor that you want to follow.
Yeah.
And then try to emulate standards that they're doing, and then try to incorporate those standards into your life. So, but I agree. I think there's like the comparison culture is so strong right now, and people are so depressed because they see Mark in his R8 and they see you doing all this stuff, and they're like, why am I not doing that?
Yeah. I think,
but they don't see the other parts.
Yeah, I do feel guilty a lot. Like I felt guilty on that trip, and just talking to people since I've been back, it's like, man, every time I got on my phone, you were doing something crazy, and I'm like, I'm here at work, and I'm like, yeah, like it was awesome, like it was an incredible experience.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think people push that. Like I try never to like put it in front of people's face of like, hey, I'm better than you, but it's like, hey, this is possible. Like you could. I'm not special. Yeah. Like you could do this too. Yeah. All I did was show up and work hard for the last 6 years in a good opportunity. Yeah. Like if you're in a minimum wage job and you work really hard and you're really happy, like that doesn't take you much further. Mm-hmm. Like you got to take a risk. Low risk equals low reward. Yep. And so if you can take those high risks, you're going to get a higher reward if you put in the work. Yeah. And same with sales too. Like high pressure equals high rejection. Mm-hmm. So if you can get good at low pressure, creates low rejection, which makes sales process way easier.
Yeah. I think you hit it on the head with it's not just enough to work hard. Yeah. You have to work hard in the right opportunity. Yeah. You have to have the right vehicle. Yeah. And I think that's something I think about a lot. Yeah. I think about it from a local standpoint with real estate is we can work as hard, like we can work super hard and get up to X amount of market share. Yeah. But like, what is our cap? Yeah. Like, is Idaho Falls the right vehicle? I think it'll always be a vehicle that we play in. Yeah. But like, do we also need to go look for another vehicle that can get us to that next level? Yeah. Have you thought about that at all with like your sales? You guys are, since you go out and you cross the country, you're not really capped to any one market.
But definitely like just the pest control industry, right? Like there's a million things you can sell real estate door to door. You can sell insurance, solar, alarms. Like there's a million ways to make money, right? And I think you just have to commit. Like loyalty and commitment are huge. I think they pay the biggest dividends. And like building something special with people that you love is important. But like I look at pest control and I'm like, bugs aren't going anywhere. Yeah. Like, it's pretty recession proof. Mm-hmm. I'm really confident that no matter what happens, like somebody's going to want to get rid of their cockroaches or their ants and their spiders. Yeah. Whereas like some of these other products, I would be kind of scared personally. Like the government controls some of these products and regulations and tax benefits. I'm like pest control is such a low ticket item that actually helps people enjoy their home. So it's like, it's a win-win. Yeah. It costs them a little bit, but it's like they're investing in their home. Like if they get bugs in their house, like that's a hard house to sell.
100%.
And so just little things like that, I think are good. Like to check with yourself, like, hey, am I in a good vehicle that's going to help me grow as an individual, but am I able to grow here for a long period of time? Yeah. Like houses have been around for a long time. Yeah. They're probably not going anywhere soon. So real estate's a very good market to be in. It's healthy. Like all these other newer products that have been around for the last 10, 20 years, it's like bugs have been around since maybe before humans. Like, bugs will probably outlast us. Yeah. So I'm pretty confident in where I'm at. Yeah. I would love to start business. I told you I would never start a business in 2024. Yeah. Like, that's pretty risky. So good on you and your wife for starting a business adventure.
Yeah.
I'll support it 100%.
Yeah.
But just like, I'd love to buy businesses like car washes. I love car washes. I'd love to get into the laundromat, those boring businesses that Cody Sanchez talks about.
Yep.
But there's also all these baby boomers that are retiring, that are selling businesses. It's like there's so much opportunity that's going to come around. So like my advice to anyone that's young is learn how to make as much freaking money as you can over the next 2 or 3 years, because you will have the biggest upside and be able to capitalize on all these people retiring and businesses being available.
Yeah.
I mean, you get it, or, Blackstone's going to get them.
Yeah.
So you decide.
Cash is king. And that's what it's like. You got to have cash. So you got to have a vehicle that you can generate cash.
Yeah.
And with that cash, save it, put it into good places or places that you can take it out, because there's going to be opportunities that come, and
I mean, you got me to invest in some land development.
Yeah.
So.
Look, Mark had a little bit of cash, so he threw it into a project that we have. But those are the opportunities. Like when an opportunity comes, those that have funds are going to take advantage of those opportunities. That's why the wealthier get wealthier, because they have cash usually to take advantage of an opportunity when it comes. And people are willing to give away a portion of that opportunity to people that have cash.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with business. It's like there's going to be an opportunity that comes. An old person's going to want to retire. They're looking. What are they looking for? They're looking for cash. They want to get bought out. Well, if you have cash, you can buy them out. It's great.
Yeah.
If you can find the deal, great. Then find the deal and find somebody with cash.
Yeah.
That can
have the knowledge to make the sales process easy for the prospect or for yourself. Like present them with the deal and they'll love you way more.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we've got financing. We could do subject to, we could do seller finance, and provide options to them. Like being knowledgeable is like the biggest thing that, like, obviously reading books and podcasts are very important, and then executing.
I feel like the Cody Sanchez, I mean, she's taking the internet by storm.
Yeah.
I even have a guy that's, and I think there's other people in that space, but like buying businesses has become a really hot topic.
Yeah.
I have a guy out of California that's been talking about buying real estate here. And he also just hit me up the other day. And I was like, yeah, I'm also interested in buying like businesses. Yeah. So like laundromats or anything that, like of in the area, let me know. And so what spiked your interest in buying, like going down that? Is that something that you're focused on now outside of real estate, or?
I think I've just kind of turned my focus, or like opened my eyes to it a little bit. And it is crazy how like what you focus on expands, because like opportunities start to pop up and you start hearing about commercial deals. And like I got presented with 13 units and 7 like commercial loans.
Really?
And I was like, oh, that's like, if I wasn't open-minded, I probably would have said no, or wouldn't have had those conversations that lead to opportunity. Yeah. So a couple of my sales guys always talk about like side hustles, passive income. Like real estate is tough to get into, especially your first or second year in sales, when you're building your nest egg, getting your taxes right. Is important. But I think myself as a leader and like trying to have like being someone of impact, like I need to be open-minded to all opportunities, and then be knowledgeable on how to give advice. Because like, if somebody comes to me like, hey, should I buy this laundromat? And I'm like, yeah, go for it. And then it bankrupts them. It's like, they're going to blame me, but being knowledgeable in business and real estate, I think is very valuable to being a leader and doing big things and thinking big.
Yeah. Because ultimately your sales guys you've got to have a bigger vision in order for them to come to you and be like, hey, what I'm trying to do fits in with like what you're trying to do as a whole. And I feel like you can be a leader, not just in my sales, but also my side venture. Yeah. So it's like being knowledgeable about all those aspects. Yeah. Is there something specific? Because we've talked about buying businesses like outside of this. What excites you about that versus real estate?
I think just the potential cash flow with a business can be a lot greater. Yeah. I was listening to the podcast with Tony Robbins and Ed Milet, and they talked about being a private equity investor and starting to become an owner, where they didn't get into it till they were 45, 50 years old. Yeah. And it took their average returns from the market, 8 to 10% to like 22, 24, 40% on millions of dollars. Yeah. And so you just need a couple of those, and just getting knowledgeable about business, I think, benefits everyone. Yeah. Like you should understand how money works and how business works if you want to go big.
I agree. So Tony Robbins came out with that new book that he talks about. And I've listened to a few podcasts that he's been on, kind of just discussing those things. And he talks about, some of those private equity firms that you can invest money into, but then you also get like a equity stake in a private equity, and then their returns that they've been like performing on are like outrageous. Yeah. So he's like, 22 to 40% returns on his money. And then if a bigger private equity company wants to buy that private equity, you're selling that on a multiple. Yep. And so like, it's just crazy. I want to read that book. Have you read it yet?
I haven't yet.
Okay, let's read it. Well, maybe we'll start a book club and read it together.
Let's do it.
But
I think, I don't know if it's really, it maybe it released last week.
Yeah, I think it.
I know he released the first chapter online, but maybe it's released now.
I'll have to check. He was doing this big push and like getting on all the he's doing the Alex Hormozy approach.
Yeah.
Getting on all the podcasts or influencers, do the book hype, which I think is cool. Alex kind of set that precedent. But what's different about businesses is like, it's all about if you can increase revenue, and then you can then your multiple
decrease expenses, increase revenue,
and then you're selling the business based on a multiple. Yeah, and that multiple can be like so much greater than what you'd bought it for,
and you can force that appreciation. Almost.
Correct.
Like if I can go paint, like I'm going to go paint one of my duplexes.
Yeah,
I'm like that's going to help value a little bit, but like with a business, you put in the correct inputs to increase revenue, decrease expenses, then your multiple goes from 2x to 5x pretty quickly.
Well, and you have a decent audience. Yeah. So you could take a business and quickly increase revenue just with audience and influence. Yeah. You also know how to market.
I think that's like going back to being a good man, good woman. Yeah. Like your reputation is going to be so big in the future.
100%.
So what you say, what you do with people now, like I actually think about my dad a lot and my grandpa. My grandpa passed away before I met him, but like anyone that knew my grandpa was like, he was a good man. He worked hard. And I'm like, what are people going to say about Mark Willmore when I'm 45, 65, or when I die, The 7 habits of highly successful people, right? They talk about you going to your own funeral and like what people are saying about you. So just keeping the end in mind will give you opportunity for the future. Yeah. So I don't know where you're going to be in 10 years. Yeah. And that was another thing my dad said. He's like, you never know when you get in a hard spot and somebody from high school that you bullied, like you need a job from him. Yeah. You think he's going to hire you? Yeah. I'm like, yeah, probably not. If you're mean to somebody or you lie to somebody and they end up being the person you need, like it's so important to keep relationships.
I 100% agree. And I think that so many people they're so quick to burn a relationship or burn a bridge.
For cash, for money.
Cash, for like just a quick little paycheck.
Yeah, a short-term return.
Short-term return. And I think if you, like you said, always have the end in mind. Yeah. Where am I trying to get to? Is this person going to be a resource for me down the road? Yeah. Don't burn that bridge. Yeah. Like, there's no need, And so I agree with you 100%. And that's so hard in our industry, though.
It is.
Loyalty is...
Shiny objects are...
They're all over the
place.
Very
shiny.
And loyalty is like nowhere to be found. Yeah. How do you deal with that? Like with your sales guys?
Communication again, right? If they're not all in, like it's really hard to build something great if you don't have people that are committed. And if you got to ask yourself, am I committed? Right? I told my team, like I was on a vacation / work trip for the last 3 weeks. And my commitment level obviously was not high while I was there. Yeah. But committed to them, like, hey, I'm 100% committed for the next 30 days. Like you can count on me for anything until March 7th or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I just communicate with them. And I was like, I'm encouraging all of you guys to check your commitment level. Like, have you been 100% all in on you? Like, are you serving your future self right now? Mm-hmm. And like, and if they're not, and they don't want to, like, that's not somebody I want to build something with. Mm-hmm. Like I want to build something with people that are invested in building their future, not just trying to make an extra buck here or there for this year or next year. It's like, no, where do you want to be in 5 years? Like, let's get you there. Yeah. Like, I'm here to support you.
Saying that to like yourself, like if you're not 100% in, you said the comment. If you're not 100% in, then you might as well be 100% out.
100%.
And you told that to your guys, and
can be scary.
That can be scary because it's like on your side too, you're looking at it as you might be giving up a short-term gain because you might lose a really profitable
Good
rep.
sales rep. Yeah.
But to your point, like if you're committed to what you're trying to do, you're going to give up the short-term gain from keeping that sales rep on for the long-term vision of what you're trying to build.
It's way healthier.
Yeah.
I'm going to botch this, but the way they hire like Navy SEALs, like they take skill, commitment, everything. And like they take committed people over skillful people all the time.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yeah, you could be really skillful, but if this person doesn't have my back and I'm in the line of fire, like I'm dead.
Yeah.
Like I need to know that the people behind me and in front of me are committed.
Yeah.
I don't care if you can really shoot a gun or not.
Yeah.
But as long as you're there helping
we can teach you how to shoot a gun.
We can teach you.
Yeah.
And increase your skill level.
Yeah.
Like I just need to know if you're committed.
Yeah.
Patrick Bet David has a really good video about the left ventricle. Have you ever like it's horse racing?
Okay.
And how to pick the best horse and the pedigree, like the tallest horse, the strongest horse. That's what people always look at, you know, their breed and how good of a horse this has been statistically. And he said the most important statistic is how big the left ventricle in its heart is.
Wow.
And it's the best horse that like won. Like I don't even think the horse got bought that year. And then one of those guys was like, you need to buy this horse. It's the smallest horse. It's not very big. It's not very strong. He's like, but the left ventricle, it's in the top 1%.
Wow.
He's like, it's got a big heart. And every time I watch that video, I almost like start to cry and get chills because it's like, it doesn't matter how good looking you are, how strong you are. And like, you could have the perfect pedigree, but if you don't have the heart and the discipline to go after what you want, like you're going to lose. And that horse went on like I don't know how much it sold for, but the horse that sold for the most, like I think it was 10 million, went on to earning like 75,000 in earnings like that year. And then this horse with the left ventricle won all 3 horse races that year.
Wow.
Like the Kentucky Derby, like multi-million-dollar deals because of the left ventricle.
I'll have to look for that.
It's an old video. It's like before Pat started to get big on social media.
Okay. I'll have to look at that. That's because I can see where it makes sense. Yeah. It's like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. The quote, hard work always beats talent when talent's not willing to work hard. It's like, it's that core principle of it doesn't really matter where you came from. Nobody cares. Yeah. The marketplace doesn't care. I don't care whether
Success doesn't care.
Yeah.
They don't care about you.
No.
They don't care about how you feel, how you look. I mean, we joke about my beard quite a bit.
Yeah.
But if you look at like my early sales career, I had like this ugly chin strap beard with braces and like half a mustache. I did not look good with a beard 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I always tell people like, yeah, if I shave my beard, like active stock would drop.
Yeah.
Or like my sales force would cut
down.
in half. My sales would go down. But it's like, no, that's not true.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how I look. It matters how I feel.
Yeah.
And so, but the beard definitely does help.
Does help. We talked about it. We're going to get a lot of views from the clips here because of your beard. But going back to the Navy SEAL, the way, because I've seen that graph. They've like posted a graph before, and it's like, skill level and then like trust. Yeah. And it's like they hire based on like higher trust than skill level.
Yeah.
And one of the things was like, they're like, our guys need to be able to trust each other to the level of like, I'm out on tour. This guy can go take care of my family. Yeah. He's not going to sleep with my wife. Yeah. Like that level of trust. Yeah. Because you also know that guy's got your back in the battlefield. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like he cares. He's loyal. And you can trust him. It's the same thing with, I think, anything in life. Leading a team, like not only do your sales guys have to trust you, but you as a leader, you got to be able to trust your sales guys. Definitely. If I trust my sales guys, of course I'm going to give them more at bats. Yeah. Of course I'm going to give them the bigger opportunities. Yeah. But if I don't trust them because they're wishy-washy, it's like, you're not going to get as many opportunities. I think that helps people feel important too, that are working for you. It's like you saying like, hey, trust me, I'm going to take care of you, puts all the liability on your back. Yeah. But then when you say, hey, look, I trust you, that puts liability on them. Yeah. And so it's like, we have to trust each other so that everything works out. Yeah. And if one of us breaks the deal, it's hard to come back from that. 100%. Yeah. I wish, how do you instill that in your guys? Like,
I don't know if you can instill it in anyone.
How do you locate it? Like, what's a good test?
How do you find?
Yeah, how do you find it? How do you find it in somebody when you're trying to hire them?
I don't know. The reason I love pest control is the barrier of entry is so low, right? Which is awesome because we can hire a lot of people that might not have this opportunity elsewhere.
Yeah.
Like if you can walk and talk, you can get hired. That's base level entry, right?
Yeah.
If you can walk and talk, you can sell pest control. Yeah. If you can walk, talk, work hard, have a good attitude, you can be good at selling pest control. If you train, work hard, are, dependable, reliable, like you're just going to the next level. And so finding those people, I think it comes through, like you have to filter. Like there's not that many good people out there anymore. Yeah. And so like in my career, I think I've hired 1,800 people in the last 6 years. Like we've signed, onboarded, and now I have 300 signed reps for 2024. So it's like, yeah, you look at that ratio, it's not good. But have you heard the Stephen Curry stats? How he shoots 500 shots a day. So he shoots 500 shots a day all year. And I think he shot like 2.2 million shots or 2.5 million shots. And in games, he's only made 3,000 or 3,300. So he's taken 2.5 million shots and have only made 3,300 in a game.
He's still the best shooter.
And he's the best shooter of all time. And it's just like, yeah, I'm going to hire and work and filter so I can find the best people to work with. And so that's why recruiting like motivates me. It's like, yeah, I know I'm going to have to sign a lot of people to find a couple good ones, but I'm more than willing to go through those hundreds of thousands of people to make sure we get some good ones.
That's a good perspective shift. Cause I was focused on how do you filter it up front?
Yeah.
How do you just get to know it? And then so you don't have to hire that many people. But I think you're right. I think like people's personalities and their true self will show at some point.
Yeah.
It's really hard to pull that out of an interview, out of the first 2 or 3 interviews.
Yeah. Even a year of working with somebody.
Even a year. But over time, it's going to show.
Yeah.
And then I think that's where you have to be quick to make the decisions of, hey, they're not in.
I think that's why it's important to build a good culture, because people that don't like structure and can't be accountable and can't have expectations, they'll kind of filter themselves out.
Yep.
And so it's important to have good culture so that will make your hiring process good, because you can hire people into a good environment and change maybe some behaviors and kind of instill that trust with them.
Yeah.
And if they take it for what it's worth, they'll grow and develop and become better. And if they don't fit the mold, they'll find a way to get out and they'll feel uncomfortable because they're around high performers.
Do you feel any responsibility when you lose a rep?
100%. It's 100% my fault. 1,000% my fault. I'll take 100% ownership that I could have made it a better rep experience if I would have taken more time, more calls. And like at the end of the day, it's their decision, but there's always more I could do. Like, period.
Yeah. I like that you said that, because it affects me a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm always thinking like, man, I could have done more. I could have done better.
I think the healthy way to look at that is it's not anything personal.
Yeah.
It's like when somebody walks out on me, it's not me necessarily, but what could I have done better to make sure that he could have stayed, or like felt more and like been, I guess, more valued.
Yeah.
And felt like this was the place for him.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, people have their own decisions. Like when you don't get a sale, it hurts, of course. And you probably could have done a couple things differently. Yeah. But there's also those days where you do everything 100% right and it doesn't work out. But the more times you can, what do I say? This is good. I'm gonna see if I can nail this.
Yeah.
It says every time you give your 100%, your 100% gets better. So if you never give your 100%, you're actually never improving.
Yeah.
And so it's just important to always try and give it your best. So then the next time it's a little bit better.
I feel like you've been doing pest control for what? 6 years?
Yeah, going on 7 years.
6, 7 years. You're 26. You're 26?
I am turning 27 soon, but okay. I'll say I'm 26 for
27
as long
right
as I
now.
can.
I'm turning 28 next month.
I turn 27 next month.
Okay. I was like, you're 2 years behind me? No way. Okay, you're like a year behind.
I'm catching up.
Yeah.
March 15th. When's your birthday?
March 4th.
Okay.
Yeah.
March people, good people.
Great people. Some of the best.
Yeah. Half my family's born in March.
Really?
So, yeah. Like a lot.
Really? either most of my family and Bree's family is born in December, January.
Okay.
I don't know
I'm
why.
sorry.
Yeah,
It's okay.
it's weird. My
They just
sisters,
missed
a few months. They're
Yeah.
still really good people, but they just missed the cutoff of
Yeah.
great. Yeah, just kidding. No, but oh man, I forgot even what I was gonna say. In that short period of time, like you're still young, and you've only been doing this for 6-7 years. You've learned it so much from
Pest
honestly
control.
experience through the pest control industry.
It's silly.
Which most people just don't think, like it's not a real career.
Yeah.
You know,
It's a summer job. That's
summer
how it
job.
started.
Yeah.
College job to pay for college.
yeah.
Yeah.
But now it's taught you everything that
Yeah.
you know,
Very grateful. Yeah.
and it's going to lead you into bigger and better things. I just think that people miss, again, they're scared to get into an opportunity because they don't see the benefit long term.
Yeah.
And if you would have just said, yeah, it was just a summer job and you didn't take it seriously, you probably wouldn't be where you're at.
Yeah. I honestly almost kind of approached it that way, which is funny. Is like, yeah, I'll try it for one summer, see how it goes. And I never thought I would be where I'm at, but I saw the upside of like, oh man, like some of these top guys are making $200K, $300K, $500K, $1 million in pest control.
Wow.
I don't personally, at the time, I didn't know anyone making $1 million.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, why would I go do something else when I have somebody, a text, a call away that's like Chandler? He was a millionaire when I started. Like
Yeah.
he made $1 million. He owned, I don't know how many units at the time, like 80, 90 units of rental real estate. Like, why would I not stay close to that?
Yeah.
And so really grateful that I did.
Yeah.
Dropped out of school and 100% don't regret that. Have you heard the statistic of how many people have their bachelor's degree? 37% of Americans have their bachelor's degree.
Really?
Yeah. So where my mind goes, I was like, there's 63% of people that have student loans that never got the benefit. Again, just finishing, commit and finish, or go do something that you can learn a skill and make money with.
Yeah.
But,
Proximity, again, it's like your product of your environment. You don't know, if you don't know somebody that makes $1 million, it's going to be hard for you to figure out how to make $1 million.
almost impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you do,
Yeah.
why would you not look at what Chandler's doing and like say, what is he doing?
Yeah.
How can I do the same thing
Yeah.
to get there?
Yeah. I think the best advice, if you're making 25 grand, go find somebody who's making 35 grand. And then if they're making 35, find somebody who's making 60. If they're making 60, go for the people making 100 grand.
Yep.
If you're making 250 grand, like some of my closest best friends are making 7 figures. I'm like, well, if they're my best friends, they're making 7 figures. Like I'm on that path.
Yep.
I'm on that trajectory.
I've done that my whole career, and like just always trying to find somebody that's doing more. And what are they doing?
Not like you can't like pick somebody that's like 10
Way out
years.
of your league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like me comparing myself to Chandler. It's like, yeah, that's pretty far. But like, I'm not too far behind Garrett. And Garrett's closer to Chandler than I am. So it's like, if I can get to where Garrett's at, then maybe I can be where he's at
now
a little sooner. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
No, it's true. And you can, what I've done, like you can pay to be in those rooms. And I've paid to be in rooms that maybe I shouldn't have even been in because they're just that much farther ahead.
Yeah.
But there's still always golden nuggets I take from it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool.
Touching your dreams, very,
100%.
very powerful.
Yeah. Like they're talking about depreciating their jets. And I'm like, cool. How do you even get a jet?
What? I don't even know a name of a jet.
Yeah.
Like what brand is
Gee,
that?
what?
I barely know shoe brands. And we own a sneaker store.
No, so it's, I think those are super valuable lessons that you've learned. And I want to, this year, I want to come out and when you go to visit one of your sales reps, I'd love to come out with you, bring Edgar and film like an experience out there of knocking doors.
Good luck.
I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be
Have you ever knocked doors?
Never knocked. Not for like, I mean, I've knocked doors for real estate.
Yeah.
But not even like, that was like knocking doors to invite them to the open house or like.
You should challenge your sales team to go knock 100 doors. I would say in a week, we knock 200 doors a day.
Yeah.
And so if you could get your guys to knock doors, like I think you could, the upside is
huge.
Yeah. I mean, consumer to consumer, direct to home, I think is the number one fastest way to build revenue. Lead gen.
We have one sales guy that he taught a class to us recently, but that's all he does.
Yeah.
He only knocks doors for his lead gen.
How much does he make?
He crushes it. He does good.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. He's got like 4 million pending this month.
Yeah. This is my plug for Aptive or real estate.
Yeah.
Knock doors to make money.
Yeah.
It's the fastest way to make as much money as you want.
Yeah. If you guys want to go sell with Mark this year, hit him up.
Yeah. I am hiring.
He's hiring. He's a great, if you can't tell, he's a great leader just from the podcast. You've got a lot of wisdom. I really appreciate you coming on. Yeah. Before we end, any advice you'd give to those that are wanting to get into sales, those that are wanting to, you know, start? There's so many people that they listen to podcasts like this and they want to start building wealth. And they want to start doing this thing. What piece of advice from your journey that you've been on would you want to leave with them?
Start with where you're at and understand where you're at and ask yourself, like, what am I currently doing that's actually going to move the needle? Because everybody wants leads. Everybody wants recruits. But going to the office and sitting there doesn't get you leads. Being on Instagram and posting content not necessarily brings success either. But doing the things that actually matter and move the needle. And if you're in a place where nothing's moving, like, go to a vehicle that's moving. You can walk to school, you can ride a bike to school, you can take the bus to school, you can drive a car to school. You can eventually take a jet if you want to, right? Like, get into that next vehicle. If you're walking right now, get into a bike that's going to take you there a little bit faster. If you're riding your bike right now and you feel like you're going okay, we need to get you into a car. Like, let's get you there even faster with less work. Like, it takes way more work to ride a bike to school than it does to get in your car and drive. It's way more efficient and way faster to get you to that next destination. So.
You know, one thought I had on that is, like, you don't have to build your own car either.
No, they're already built.
Mark's got a car you can jump in.
I've got, probably too many.
He's probably building a jet you can jump in and fly, start flying.
Airplane hangar is on the list, I think.
So an agent on my team just got his pilot license.
Hey.
And he's been pushing me to, like, he called me because they had an airport hangar in Idaho Falls that came up off market.
Yeah,
like 240.
Yeah, it was like two. Yeah.
And he's like,
do you have to own a plane to own a hangar?
No.
Should have bought it.
Yeah, I probably should have. He was really pushing because he's like, he owns a plane.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll lease it from you and then I'll just sublease.
You already got a tenant.
I know. I don't know why I didn't do it. I got nervous. I don't know anything about hangars. Like,
neither do I. So I just got to send it.
Just send it. I should have called you. You're like, hey, do this with me, Mark. But that's on the bucket list.
That's cool.
Do you get a small plane that we could do back and forth from Arizona? And he said he'll be the pilot. If you get a plane, I got a pilot for you.
Let's do it.
Yeah. But cool, Mark.
You'll be my hard money lender.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you for coming on.
Thanks for having me again.
I feel like you always give a ton of wisdom. I love these conversations. So hopefully you guys got something out of it. I'm sure you did. But if you're young rookie or young college guy looking to get into pest control, you don't even have to be young. You don't have to be in college.
Yeah.
If you're stuck where you're at and you're looking for a change, Mark's got a great vehicle to jump in. I've got a great vehicle you can jump in for real estate. Come talk to either one of us. We're here to try to help you guys elevate. So until next time, appreciate you guys. We'll catch you later.
Don't listen to people who lose or you'll do the same. Stop talking to people who don't give a what you saying. Stop spending your money on weed, go hop on a plane. Stop pointing the finger and start taking some of the blame. Let me put you on game. Control your emotions, most of the time it's really not worth it. Don't be ashamed and beat yourself up for not being perfect.